Hello, Age of Mythology players. I'm TheRapl and I'm back with some more content for Retold. I'd like to show you this game. I'm gonna be analyzing a few things and most importantly, I'm gonna be showing you how to deal with a forward Heimdal or Forseti rush from your opponent. So whether that's a Norse mirror or you are being rushed by, let's say, maybe Kronos. I'd like to give that a try, but this is mostly when you get rushed against a Norse player, what you're supposed to do here. So yes, Dwarf and Oxcart go to gold, 3 go to food. And next Gatherer goes over to gold. We're looking to do a fast age up, ideally before 4 minutes. And again, this is about Heimdal rush. My opponent is gonna be Heimdal rushing me with a forward base, and I'm going to be exploiting this strategy and abusing and winning pretty hard. So yeah, you'll see very soon how it works. One villager goes to wood. The ox cart might not be even necessary at this point. See if you can share with hunt. So I could share this straggler tree with the hunt and I'd be totally fine. But either way, it can work even if you build a third ox cart. But feel free to also share ox carts if it's possible. So yeah. Now on my side, I'm gonna be checking slightly the opponent's base and then I'll be sending the berserk right back to my base. You see my opponent is already building a forward temple right outside of my base. So you know what's coming. And once again, whether it's Heimdal, Forseti, or even Freya rush, you can pretty much do this build I'm doing here and you can really punish that. So with the 2 villagers on wood, once you gather 135 wood, you're gonna be going over to chickens, to the closest food source possible. Because we're gonna age up very soon and we're gonna gather just enough wood to build the temple. We're not even gonna be doing a house. You see, I haven't dropped a house. We don't need a house with this build order. And if you skip the hunt ox cart, you might be able to save even more resources early on. So let's say this was a map where you could lure the wild animals underneath the town center. I could do that with a berserk if I wanted to. You can do it yourself if you like this play. You can push those deer underneath the town center and put the ox cart over to gold. And that way we wouldn't even need the ox cart on hunt, and we would save an extra 100 resources. And if you can share your wood line with the gold mine, that would be another 100 resources saved up, because we would only have the starting ox cart. But anyways, no more villagers to wood. You see I'm sitting at 15 wood right now and I'm building my temple. I have total 8 villagers on food, 2 dwarfs and a gatherer on gold, and you build a third dwarf before you click up. The temple is gonna be up. The last dwarf will obviously go to gold, and the gatherer from gold, once you start building the third dwarf, will be sent over to food. So right now we have 10 on food, no villagers on wood. We will switch villagers to wood once we start aging up. So you see, we're gonna be having 400 food right now, and we're aging up through Freya. You switch the chicken villagers or 5 hunt villagers over to wood, whatever is closer to a wood line. And we keep those 5 villagers on food. That was a 3-minute advance by the Loki player, insanely fast, super fast. So I'm gonna be in some trouble for the early game. Undermine will be used. And I will only be able to get 1 Hershey out, because look at how strong Undermine is, with the Enherry helping out. If you're ever being rushed, and you realize it's best, the best thing you can do is build your temple behind your base, somewhere here next to the gold mine or closer to the town center, so it doesn't go down that easily. So I'm stuck kinda with 1 Herser. The Enherry has gotten a lot of damage from the town center. And here's what you're looking to do now. Here's the important part. Once you age up, you're gonna be training berserks from the town center, and you will be building a longhouse to try and throwing axemen. Don't fall into the trap of building Great Hall for raiding cavalry. You don't need raiding cavalry right now. It's the worst unit you could possibly train, because your opponent is just doing Herser and probably Myth unit. If you're playing Odin, you keep one Raven on top of the enemy temple, so you see what the production looks like. And you see 4 Berserks are on the way, and then I might train a Dwarf, or I might be doing more Berserks. So you know, the food you have, the available food you have, goes to Hersers and Berserks from the town center. And the wood you have goes to throwing axemen. So right now, we're basically countering the all-in cheese forward base rush. We're countering it with an all-in Berserk throwing axemen rush. Because, you know, he hasn't been able to drop more military buildings. He cannot train Berserks from his town center. That would be too inefficient, having to walk all across the map here. But we can. We have Defender's advantage. We have a Forest Fire to take a nice fight. We still have Great Hand to use at some point. And you will have a Valkyrie, which you can raid with. Right now, I don't have a Valkyrie because my temple got destroyed. So imagine how much easier it would be for me to win the game if I had the Valkyrie. You straight up send the Valkyrie to your opponent's base, you use a Forest Fire, you kill a villager, you idle the hunt. That would force your opponent to send Hersers back into his base, and that would make weaker, softer the forward pressure, and that would basically mean you're gonna be winning most of the fights. So, I'm trying to clean up the Encheri, since I only have one Herser. I wanna take it down kinda soon. And try focusing down with your throwing axemen the infantry, just like I'm doing here. Few more hits and the Encheri will also go down. And now it is about maintaining the map control. We're now training villagers on food and gold. We're gonna need we're going to need around 5 on gold, and then we mostly need food and wood, because we wanna train literally throwing axemen. And I know you might think, but by training 4 Berserks from your town center, didn't that idle your town center? Yes, it did, but look at this. 15 civilians against 15 civilians. So what basically happened is, for your opponent to be able to do such a fast advance, 3 minutes into the game, and train units at the same time to apply pressure, that means your opponent will also have idle town center. But the huge difference is, you've spent that idle TC for having 4 extra Berserks that let you win the first big fight and secure your position in here. So once your opponent starts retreating, you can start targeting down buildings, hit reinforcements from the buildings with your throwing axemen, don't let them just survive. And every time your opponent tries to fight, turn around to do some damage. Throwing axemen do 3 times more damage against enemy throwing axemen. He does 3.3 because he's Loki. So in same numbers, he wins the fights. But I'm Odin, I have a better economy. So I can train more units than he can. That explains the Berserks here. Alright. Kite him away and see what the micro I'm doing with the Raven. If you're playing Odin, keep the Ravens on top of the enemy throwing axemen, because if your opponent attack moves, he's gonna start attacking the Raven, because it's the closest thing to them. So while the throwing axemen are busy trying to kill the Raven, your throwing axemen are applying their full bonus damage, and that is just amazing. That is just huge. In the early game, it would slow you down too hard if you went for great halls, so a second longhouse is nice to be built. And if you lose your temple, just like I did, make sure you build it before 7 minutes into the game. So you'll see me very soon building my own temple, because I lost it to the Undermine. But that was like the best value he could have gotten. Temple is more expensive than a longhouse. Way more. Prioritize destroying the houses, because you can pop your opponent, you can house him basically. Now that I've upgraded medium infantry, I'm gonna be able to outrange my opponent's throwing axemen. Check this out. I have 12 range, my opponent has 11 range. So the extra damage he has doesn't play a huge role. Because what's the point if you cannot even target me on time? I'm gonna be killing more throwing axemen than you with the extra range. And Valkyries is the unit of choice. That's why we're putting villagers on food currently. 7 or 8 is enough on wood to build double throwing axemen. That's the most useful unit in a Norse mirror. And use your food to build Valkyries. You're gonna be going for this army composition, throwing axemen Valkyries. There's nothing your opponent can train right now to beat that. And slowly start pushing through the forward base, and you will be good to go. You can kite away and use the Valkyries as the front line. Micro your throwing axemen to attack enemy throwing axemen. Micro the Valkyries to attack the Enheris, and you will be in an amazing position. And just like that, you are able to clean up a Norse Heimdal rush. And again, this strategy here, the Berserks from the town center, this strategy works against all Norse that try to rush you, whether your opponent was playing Freyr, Loki, Odin, you know, all of these gods, you can go for this strategy and win the game. So this was the anti-rush build for today. I'm TheRapl, a professional Age of Mythology player. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one.